The stars were silent. No radio noise, no ships moving. Just the cold breath of space and the faint light of dying suns. Admiral Rhea Collins stood on the bridge of the horizon, the last surviving human battleship in Sector 9. The screens around her flickered with static, and the air smelled of smoke and burned metal. Every officer was tired, eyes hollow from endless battles. For 7 long years, humanity had fought the Dominion, a vast alien empire that stretched across half the galaxy. They had promised peace once, then demanded obedience. When Earth refused, the war began. And now it seemed it was ending, not with victory, but with silence. A red light blinked on the main console. A transmission. Lieutenant Harris looked up from his station. "Admiral, incoming message." "Dominion Command Channel." Rhea said nothing for a moment. Her jaw tightened. Then she gave a short nod. "Put it on." The hologram appeared above the command table, a tall alien with cold silver eyes and skin that glowed faintly blue. His voice was smooth, sharp like a blade. "Humans, your worlds burn. Your fleets are dust. You have lost. Surrender, and your species will be spared. Resist, and you will vanish from history." The bridge went quiet. The alien's words echoed through the chamber like a funeral bell. Harris lowered his head. "Ma'am, maybe they're right." "We don't have enough ships left to fight," another officer whispered. "Earth is gone. Mars too. There's nothing left to protect." Rhea's eyes stayed fixed on the hologram. Her voice was calm, but heavy with something stronger than fear. "No," she said softly. "We're still here. That means humanity is still alive." The alien tilted his head, almost amused. "Then you choose extinction, bold, but foolish." Rhea stepped closer, her boots echoing on the metal floor. "Transmit my reply," she ordered. The crew hesitated, then nodded. The Admiral looked straight into the hologram's glowing eyes and spoke 3 simple words. "You'll regret this." The transmission ended. The alien's image vanished. Only silence remained, broken by the low hum of failing engines. Rhea turned to her crew. "Status report. Fuel cells at 10%, Harris said. "Weapons offline. Life support stable for now." She nodded slowly. "Then we still have time." Everyone stared at her, confused. "Time for what?" someone asked. Rhea's lips curved into the smallest of smiles. "For one last fight." Outside, beyond the broken glass of the ship's viewports, thousands of stars stretched into the dark. But none of them were home. Earth was just a memory now, a glowing ember lost somewhere behind enemy lines. Yet deep in that darkness, a small signal still pulsed. A secret beacon, known only to Rhea and a handful of survivors. It was hidden beneath the frozen surface of a forgotten moon. Project Helios. Humanity's last weapon. Their last hope. Rhea remembered the message her old commander had sent her before Earth fell. His voice was weak but steady. "If they think we'll surrender, they never understood what it means to be human." She carried those words with her like fire in her chest. Later, in the quiet of her private quarters, Rhea stood before a cracked mirror. She looked older than her years, lines of exhaustion drawn deep on her face. A photo of her daughter was pinned to the wall, faded and torn. She whispered, "I'll keep my promise. I'll bring us home." The intercom crackled. "Admiral, the crew is waiting for orders." Rhea straightened her jacket, brushed the dust from her shoulders, and walked back to the bridge. Every step echoed through the empty corridors. The surviving crew, less than 200 souls, stood ready. She looked at each one of them. Soldiers, engineers, pilots, none trained for what was coming next. But all of them carried that same look, the look of someone who has lost everything, yet still refuses to bow. Rhea raised her voice. "Listen up. The Dominion thinks this war is over. They think we'll surrender, but they don't know us. We don't kneel, we don't beg. We fight." The crew stood taller. Someone started clapping. Another shouted, "For Earth!" The sound grew, louder, stronger, turning into a roar that filled the ship. "For Earth! For humanity!" Rhea felt her chest tighten with emotion. For the first time in months, she believed again. She looked out through the viewport as the ship turned toward the far edge of the galaxy. Somewhere out there, the Dominion fleet was gathering, ready to erase what was left of humankind. But humanity wasn't finished yet. Rhea whispered to herself, "Let them come. We're not done fighting." And as the horizon moved through the darkness, its engines flared with a faint blue glow, a spark of life refusing to die. That spark would soon become a storm. The horizon drifted through the dark for 3 long days. No enemy ships, no signals, only silence, deep and endless. Most of the crew thought they were running. But Admiral Rhea Collins knew better. She wasn't retreating. She was heading toward Helios. The frozen moon of Erebos appeared on the radar first, a pale sphere wrapped in clouds of white ice and storm. Beneath that ice lay humanity's final secret, a weapon built before Earth fell, a project so hidden that even most of the fleet didn't know it existed. Project Helios. Rhea stared at the small glowing dot on the screen and whispered, "Almost there." Inside the ship, life was fragile. Food was rationed to crumbs. The heat systems barely worked. The crew slept in their uniforms, afraid the engines might fail while they dreamed. But in that cold, something else had started to grow. Hope. Lieutenant Harris sat near the observation deck, staring out at the distant moon. He turned to the young soldier beside him. "Kai, one of the youngest pilots left alive. You ever seen Erebos before?" Harris asked. Kai shook his head. "No, sir. Just heard stories. They said something powerful sleeps under its ice." Harris gave a small smile. "Yeah, let's hope it's still sleeping for us." Kai nodded, then looked down at a small metal locket in his hand. Inside was a photo, his family smiling. He whispered, "If we don't make it, tell them I fought." Harris placed a hand on his shoulder. "We'll make it, kid. The Admiral always has a plan." Hours later, the horizon entered Erebos orbit. The moon's surface was rough, filled with sharp mountains of ice and deep cracks glowing faint blue from trapped energy below. "Prepare the landing craft," Rhea ordered. Only a small team would go down. Herself, Harris, Kai, and a few engineers. The shuttle shook as it entered the thin atmosphere, ice storms roaring outside. "Engines holding?" Rhea asked. Kai, sitting at the pilot's seat, grinned nervously. "Barely, but I'll keep her together, ma'am." "Good," Rhea said. "Because if you don't, we freeze before we even land." The shuttle touched down on a wide frozen plain. Wind howled across the surface, carrying shards of snow like knives. The team stepped out in heavy suits, their breath turning to mist inside their helmets. Before them, buried half under the ice, was a metal structure, massive, ancient, and still glowing faintly blue. Rhea stared at it. There it is. Project Helios. The team made their way through the old facility. Lights flickered weakly as power returned, one section at a time. The walls were covered in frost, and the air smelled of cold metal and dust. Harris shivered. "How long's it been since this place was active?" 7 years, Rhea said. "They shut it down the day before the Dominion hit Earth." Kai ran his hand over a panel. "What is it, Admiral? A weapon?" Rhea looked at the massive core chamber ahead, a giant sphere pulsing slowly with energy. Her eyes softened. "It's more than that. It's our last chance." Inside the control room, old holograms flickered to life. A message appeared, recorded long ago by a human scientist. "If you are hearing this, it means Earth has fallen. Project Helios is incomplete, but it can still work. It's designed to turn the enemy's own technology against them. Not to destroy, but to silence. It will end their ships, their weapons, their control. But it requires one thing, a living human core. One to guide it." The hologram ended. Silence filled the room. Harris frowned. "A living core? What does that mean?" Rhea looked at the glowing sphere again. Her voice was quiet. "It means someone has to connect their mind to the system. Someone who won't come back." Kai's eyes widened. "You mean sacrifice?" Rhea nodded. "Yes, one life, for all of humanity." The weight of her words sank into the room. No one spoke for a long time. Only the hum of the old machines filled the silence. That night, as the team worked to restore the system, Kai sat alone near the shuttle. He opened his locket again, staring at his family's faces. He remembered his mother's voice. "Be brave, Kai, not foolish. Brave." He smiled sadly. Guess this is what she meant. Above him, through the storm clouds, he could see the faint outline of the horizon in orbit. Still waiting, still fighting to survive, he whispered. We'll finish this, Admiral. We'll show them humans don't give up. Back inside the control room, Rhea watched the Helios core pulse brighter with each minute. The air hummed with power. Her communicator buzzed. Harris's voice came through, nervous. Ma'am, the Dominion fleet just appeared on long-range sensors. They found us. Rhea's eyes turned cold. Then we're out of time. She turned toward the massive glowing sphere. The storm outside roared louder, lightning flashing across the ice. Prepare Helios, she said. It's time humanity reminded them who they're dealing with. The blue light filled the chamber, bright, fierce, alive. It wasn't just energy. It was hope, and hope was the one weapon the Dominion never understood. The storm above Erebos raged like the anger of forgotten gods. Lightning danced across the ice, shaking the old Helios facility. Inside, alarms flashed red, and the air vibrated with a low mechanical hum. The core was almost awake. Admiral Rhea Collins stood near the control table, her hands steady even as the ground trembled beneath her boots. Lieutenant Harris ran toward her, breathless. Admiral, we've got incoming. Dominion fleet, multiple signatures. They've found us. Rhea didn't flinch. How long until they reach orbit? 10 minutes, maybe less. Rhea turned to Kai, who was working at the main power console. Status on Helios? Kai wiped frost from his visor. Core is charging, ma'am. Still unstable. We need more time, Rhea nodded once. Then we buy it. Up in orbit, the human ship Horizon floated in the shadow of the frozen moon. Its engines flickered weakly, but its weapons were armed. The few remaining pilots waited in silence, eyes fixed on the black horizon of space, and then they saw them. Dozens of alien ships dropped out of hyperspace, sleek, sharp, and glowing with cruel blue energy. The Dominion fleet. Their commander's voice echoed through every human channel. You cannot hide, humans. The end of your kind is now. On the bridge, Commander Vale looked to Rhea's empty chair and whispered, Admiral, I hope you know what you're doing. Then he raised his voice. All ships, defensive formation. We protect the Admiral at all costs. Back on the surface, Rhea stood at the edge of the facility's landing deck, watching the storm twist above. The sky was alive with streaks of fire, human ships clashing with Dominion cruisers. The night was burning. Kai's voice came through her comms. Admiral! We're losing power! Helios is overheating! Keep it together, Kai. We only get one chance. He hesitated. If it goes wrong, then we all die, she said, cutting him off. But not before they know what it means to fight humans. Inside the Helios chamber, the energy core pulsed faster now, bright blue light filling the room like a second sun. Kai worked frantically at the controls. Sweat ran down his face despite the freezing air. The system whispered in a low hum, almost like a heartbeat. Core synchronization at 70%, the machine voice said. He muttered to himself, Come on. Come on. Then the floor shook. A blast rocked the facility. Snow and metal dust rained down from the ceiling. Harris stumbled in, shouting, They've landed troops! The aliens are inside! Rhea drew her sidearm. How many? Too many, he said, eyes wide. They've breached the outer walls. Rhea looked at the Helios core one last time. Harris, seal this room. Kai, don't stop. Whatever happens, finish the charge. Outside the chamber, the corridors filled with smoke and screams. Alien drones poured through the shattered gates, firing blue plasma bolts that burned through steel. Rhea led the defense, moving like a storm through the chaos. Her weapon glowed red-hot as she fired round after round. Hold the line, she shouted. We don't give them an inch. Humans fell one by one, but the aliens kept coming. Their tall, armored figures stepped through the smoke, unstoppable, merciless. Harris ducked behind a console and shouted over the noise, We can't hold them, Admiral. Rhea reloaded calmly. Then we don't hold. We delay. Inside the core chamber, Kai's hands were trembling. Core synchronization at 95%, the computer said. Another blast shook the room. Part of the ceiling collapsed. A support beam crashed beside him. He coughed, covered in dust, and yelled into the comms, Admiral! We're losing the generator line. Ria's voice came back, filled with static. Finish the charge, soldier. That's an order. Kai swallowed hard. His hand hovered over the main control lever. He thought of his mother, his friends, the home he'd never see again. All right, he whispered. For Earth! He pulled the lever. The Helios core exploded with light. A wave of blue energy surged outward, shaking the entire moon. The aliens outside screamed as their weapons and armor sparked violently. The Dominion ships in orbit froze, engines dead, weapons silent. One by one they fell into the void, powerless. Up on the horizon, Commander Vale watched his radar as hundreds of enemy blips vanished. He stared in disbelief. What just happened? Then he smiled. They did it. The Admiral did it. On the surface, the light began to fade. The storm quieted. The facility was half destroyed. Rhea limped into the core chamber, coughing through the smoke. Kai! She called, but the room was silent. The control console was burned out. The seat near the core was empty. Only Kai's metal locket lay on the floor, glowing faintly in the blue light. Rhea picked it up and closed her hand around it. Her voice broke for the first time in years. You brave fool. She turned toward the comms. This is Admiral Collins, she said quietly. Helios is active. The Dominion fleet is down. We're still here. The line crackled, then Vale's voice answered, full of relief. Understood, Admiral. The enemy's retreating. What are your orders? Rhea looked up at the sky, the same sky that had once watched humanity burn. Her eyes hardened. Order the fleet to regroup, she said. We're not done. This war isn't over until the Dominion learns what it means to fight humans. She looked at Kai's locket one last time, then slipped it into her pocket. Let's finish what he started. The fires on Erebos still burned. Half the moon's surface was cracked from the blast of the Helios core. Frozen air rushed into the open craters, creating storms of ice and ash that howled across the dead plains. The human fleet floated above the chaos, silent and battered. The Dominion had fallen back, not destroyed but stunned. Their once perfect machines were now dark, powerless, broken by their own arrogance. On the command bridge of the horizon, Admiral Rhea Collins stood watching the flickering holographic display. Status report, she said. Commander Vale answered quietly. Enemy ships disabled, Admiral, but they're regrouping. Some are rebooting their systems. We may have 30 minutes before they return to full power. Rhea's eyes stayed locked on the display. Then we hit them before they recover, Vale frowned. Admiral, our ships are damaged. We barely have fuel. Half our weapons are offline. Rhea turned slowly to face him. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were hard as steel. They think we'll hide again, that we'll wait for death. They still don't understand what we are. She looked out the viewport at the dark horizon of space. They will. In the engineering bay, the crew worked frantically to patch damaged systems. Sparks flew, and the smell of burning metal filled the air. Among them was Lieutenant Kai, or at least what remained of him in the ship's digital memory. His mind, connected to the Helios core, now lived as part of the system itself. Inside the ship's neural link, his voice echoed faintly, almost like a ghost. Admiral, Helios is still active. I can channel its power, but it won't last long. Rhea heard the voice through her earpiece. She closed her eyes for a moment, pain flashing across her face. Kai, you're still with us? Not for long, the voice replied softly. The system is burning me out, but I can help. One final time, Rhea took a deep breath. You've done enough, son. Rest. No, ma'am, Kai said. If I rest now, humanity won't survive the next wave. There was silence. Then Rhea whispered, What do you need? Deep inside the Helios chamber, the blue core pulsed again, brighter, faster. Kai's consciousness floated within it, surrounded by light and endless code. He could feel everything, the cold of space, the heartbeat of the ships above, the fear and hope of every human still alive. He whispered to himself, I can do this. I can protect them. But he also felt the cost. His memories fading, his body gone, his mind breaking under the weight of power. Each pulse of energy burned away another part of who he was. Still he smiled. It's worth it. On the horizon, alarms began to wail. Admiral! Vale shouted. Dominion ships are moving again. Their engines are back online. Rhea turned sharply. All ships prepare for engagement. Use everything we have left. The human fleet, only 12 ships now, formed a tight formation above the moon. Their hulls were cracked, armor scorched, but their spirit was unbroken. The Dominion fleet rose to meet them, hundreds of ships glowing once more with alien fire. It was no battle. It was a last stand. Rhea opened the comms to all ships. This is Admiral Collins. You fought harder than anyone in history. No matter what happens now, remember this. We never surrendered. Humanity stands even in the dark. Her words echoed across every ship, every soldier, every soul. Then the stars lit up as the final battle began. The sky became a storm of light and metal. Human ships dove through waves of plasma fire, returning shots even as they fell apart. The horizon took multiple hits, its shields flaring bright before collapsing. Rhea gripped the console. Helios now. We need that power. Kai's voice came through, weaker now, fading. Charging the core. One last surge. Blue lightning flashed across the moon's surface. The Helios wave began to rise again, stronger than before, spreading like fire through the stars. Alien ships shuddered, systems collapsing one by one. But inside the core, Kai screamed. The energy was too much. Admiral, I can't hold it. It's Rhea shouted. Kai, stay with me! Static. Then his voice again, soft, trembling, almost peaceful. Tell them. We never gave up, and then the light consumed everything. From orbit, the Horizon's crew watched as the moon below exploded into a sphere of blue light. The Dominion fleet vanished in the blast, their ships dissolving into silent fragments, drifting across the void. When the light faded, only the human fleet remained, damaged but alive. Rhea stared at the empty space where the moon had been. Her throat tightened, but no tears came. She whispered quietly, Rest well, Kai. You did it. Vale approached her slowly. Admiral, we've won. She shook her head. No, not yet. The Dominion will come again, and when they do, they'll remember what happened here. She turned to the crew, voice steady and strong. Prepare a message. Do every human colony still out there? Vale nodded. What should it say? Rhea looked out at the stars. Her eyes reflected the faint glow of the dying battle. Tell them humanity still fights. Tell them we're not finished. Hours later, the ship drifted quietly through the debris field. The battle was over, but the silence was heavy. In the engineering bay, a small console flickered one last time. A message appeared, Kai's voice, recorded before his final act. If anyone finds this, remember why we fought? Not for revenge, not for power, but because we refused to kneel. Tell them humanity endures. The screen faded to black. Rhea placed her hand on the console, eyes closed. You'll be remembered, soldier. The stars outside shimmered faintly, and for a moment, just a moment, it felt like the whole galaxy was listening. The silence after the battle felt unnatural. No engines, no alarms, just the quiet hum of space around the battered human fleet. The horizon drifted among the wreckage of alien ships, their glowing blue hulls now dark and lifeless. The great Dominion fleet, once unstoppable, lay broken across the stars. On the bridge, Admiral Rhea Collins stood by the window, looking at the debris field. Her reflection stared back at her, tired eyes, scarred face, but unbroken spirit. Commander Vale approached quietly. Admiral, the readings confirm it. The Dominion ships are gone. Every single one in this sector. Rhea nodded slowly. Helios did its job. There was a long pause before Vale spoke again. We've lost many good people. Rhea's voice softened. Yes, but because of them, humanity still breathes. She looked out at the stars again, cold, endless, and filled with the ghosts of those who had fallen. We owe them everything. Hours passed. The surviving ships regrouped, repairing what they could. Sparks and debris floated in the void like drifting snow. Inside the horizon, the crew worked in silence. The pain of loss hung in the air, but so did something else, hope, Lieutenant Harris limped onto the bridge, his uniform torn, a faint smile on his face. "Admiral, long-range scans are showing something interesting," Rhea turned. "What is it?" "Dominion relay stations, offline across multiple systems. The Helios pulse didn't just stop the fleet here. It spread. The entire sector's gone dark." Rhea blinked. "You mean their control network is down?" Harris nodded. "Completely. They're blind." A spark flickered in Rhea's eyes, the first light of true hope in years. "Then we strike back." Within hours, a plan was born. The remaining 12 ships, barely held together, prepared for the impossible. A counterattack against the Dominion's forward base on Varaxis Prime. It was the command hub for the enemy in this part of the galaxy, heavily fortified, always guarded by hundreds of warships. But now, those ships were dead in space. Rhea stood before her tired but determined crew. "This is our moment. They thought we were finished. They thought humans would kneel. But today, we remind them who we are." Her voice carried through every deck, every ship. "We are humanity. We endure, we fight. And when darkness covers the stars, we become the light." The crew cheered, voices breaking but full of pride. "For Earth, for Kai, for humanity!" The fleet jumped to hyperspace. Blue streaks of light flashed across the void as the human ships raced toward Varaxis Prime, a massive planet wrapped in red clouds and rings of burning metal. As they dropped out of hyperspace, the sight before them was almost unreal. Thousands of Dominion ships hung frozen, powerless, drifting like ghosts. Their bases were still glowing faintly, waiting for commands that would never come. Rhea whispered, "They're paralyzed." Just like Kai promised, Commander Vale smiled. "Then let's finish it." The attack began. Human ships dived through the still defenses, targeting the Dominion's power grid. Missiles streaked through the dark. Fire lit the skies above the planet. The sound of engines roared through the comms, human voices shouting with fierce determination. "Strike them down! Make them remember Earth!" Every explosion was a message. Every burst of light was a memory of those who had fallen. Within minutes, the Dominion's base was engulfed in flames. A single massive explosion rippled across the planet's orbit, the central command core detonating in a brilliant white flash. From the horizon's bridge, the crew watched in silence. It was beautiful, terrible, final. Rhea stood motionless, eyes fixed on the burning planet below. Vale turned to her softly. "It's over, Admiral." She shook her head. "No, it's a beginning." Later, as the fire faded, Rhea opened a new transmission, broadcasting on every open frequency across the galaxy. Her voice was calm, clear, and powerful. "To the Dominion, to anyone who hears this. You thought humans would surrender. You thought we would kneel. You were wrong. We do not break. We rebuild. And we remember." Her words echoed through the stars. "This is Admiral Rhea Collins of the United Human Fleet. To every survivor, every colony, every lost world, humanity stands again. The dawn has come. Far away on the edge of known space, hidden human outposts received the signal. Miners stopped their work. Refugees looked up from their shelters. Children born in exile saw the glowing message across their comm screens. Humanity stands again. Tears filled their eyes. Laughter and cheers filled the dark halls of every ship, every base, every lonely world that thought they were forgotten. For the first time in years, there was light in their hearts. On the horizon, Rhea sat alone in the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly before her, cold, beautiful, alive. She reached into her pocket and pulled out Kai's metal locket. It was scratched, the photo inside half burned, but it still showed a smiling young face. She whispered, "You did it, Kai. You gave us another dawn." Outside, the first rays of sunlight crept over the curve of Varaxis Prime, the light reflecting across the hulls of the human ships. Rhea stood, watching as the golden glow spread across the fleet. "For centuries," she said softly, "they ruled the stars. Now, it's our turn." The fleet moved forward together, their engines igniting with bright blue fire. The last of the smoke faded behind them, replaced by a new light, the light of a reborn humanity. 3 weeks after the Battle of Varaxis Prime, the stars were quiet again. No more alarms, no more enemy fleets. Just the soft hum of engines and the distant glow of humanity's rebirth. The human fleet, once small and broken, now drifted together in formation above the ruins of the Dominion command world. They were survivors. They were legends. Admiral Rhea Collins stood at the bridge window of the horizon, staring down at the planet below. Its red surface was scarred with fire and ash, but through the smoke, something new was being built, a human outpost. It would become the first symbol of Earth's return to the stars. Commander Vale approached quietly. "Construction teams report progress, Admiral. We'll have a base operational in a week." Rhea nodded slowly. "Good. We'll call it Haven, a place for all who survived to come home." Vale smiled faintly. "After everything we've lost, it feels strange to think of home again." Rhea looked at him, her tone softer now. "Home isn't a place, Vale, it's people. And we still have them." In the following days, messages began to arrive, broken transmissions from across the galaxy. Human voices. Colonies that had been silent for years were answering the call. "This is Vega Outpost. We received your signal. Mars Habitat 7 is still alive. We're ready to help rebuild. Earth Command. We're still here. Welcome home." Each message brought tears and cheers. Engineers who hadn't smiled in months hugged each other. Soldiers cried quietly in the dark corners of their ships. For the first time in generations, humanity wasn't running. That night, Rhea sat alone in her quarters, the stars shining through the observation window. In her hand, she held a small data chip, the final recording from Kai before he sacrificed himself. She inserted it into the console. The hologram flickered to life. Kai's young face appeared, smiling nervously. "If you're watching this, Admiral, I guess I didn't make it. But that's okay. I just wanted to say, thank you for believing we could still fight. People like me, we needed someone to show us hope again." His voice cracked slightly. "If Helios works, tell everyone this. Humans don't surrender. Not because we're brave, but because we can't let go of each other. That's what makes us human." The hologram faded. Rhea wiped a tear from her eye and whispered, "You were right, Kai. You were always right." The next morning, she gathered the fleet's command officers on the main deck. The entire crew watched on every screen across the ships. Rhea stepped forward, dressed in her simple dark uniform, no medals, no titles, just a leader speaking to her people. "Humans," she began, her voice steady. "We were told we would fall. We were told we would kneel. But here we are, standing on the ashes of those who thought they could destroy us." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We are broken, yes. We are scarred. But those scars are proof that we survived. They remind us who we are, the species that never gives up." Her eyes shone with pride. "From this day forward, no human will ever feel alone in the stars again. We will rebuild our worlds. We will find our lost brothers and sisters. And to those who tried to erase us," she looked straight into the camera, "we remember always." The crew erupted in applause. Some shouted. Others simply stood in silence, feeling the weight of her words. Later in the communications bay, Rhea recorded one final broadcast, a message to the entire galaxy. Her voice echoed through deep space, carried by hundreds of relay satellites now under human control. "This is Admiral Rhea Collins of the United Human Fleet. To every world, every species, every empire that listens, know this: humanity stands again." Her tone grew firm, filled with power. "We will rebuild not as conquerors, but as survivors. We will not seek revenge, but justice. We do not ask for peace. We create it." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "To those who think we will surrender again, you couldn't be more wrong," the message ended. But its echo traveled far, through systems once ruled by the Dominion, through black space, where even light seemed afraid to go. Weeks later, at the edge of the Sol system, a single ship approached Earth's orbit. The blue planet shimmered below, quiet, wounded, but alive. Children played in the ruins of old cities. People planted gardens where war once burned, and above them the stars no longer looked cold. They looked open. On the horizon, Rhea watched as her ship entered orbit. The crew stood beside her, silent and proud. Vale smiled faintly. "We made it home," Rhea nodded. "No, humanity made it home." The camera pans outward, from the ship to Earth to the endless galaxy beyond. Human ships move across the stars, rebuilding colonies, lighting beacons, forming alliances. And somewhere far away, alien empires watch with new respect and fear because they finally understand the truth. Humans don't surrender. They adapt. They endure. They rise. As the screen fades to black, Rhea's voice echoes one last time. "The stars belong to everyone. But the light, that's ours."